So you have a itinerary and you love overlanding. You have plans to do it big on the trails and some super glamping. One idea, tip, news and reviews, a podcast the first rate and here just for you. You don't have to think about it, join us and be about it. Something interesting we want to hear about it, come on let's talk about it. Welcome to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints Podcast.
Sponsored by MIDLAND Communication for Every Adventure, the industry leader in radio communication technology and innovation for over 50 years. Sponsored by MYMEDIC. Sponsored by TEMBO TUSK. Sponsored by Shower Pouch. Sponsored by DMOS Collective, mission built and made for mobility. Sponsored by Trek. Sponsored by Hard Impact Designs.
Always remember, the opinion you follow should be your own. Just consider the things stated here to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Oh, beautiful day down here in Baja, California.
I hear we have a mutual friend down there with you.
I am camped here with a bunch of people, one of which maybe some of our listeners out there might know, which is Sir William Goes.
Ooh, shout out Sir William.
Came in here yesterday. I've been hanging a little bit today and going to meet him. Unfortunately, the podcast here going to be a little short because I got to ditch out to meet a bunch of people for dinner, including Mr. Will.
All right, you got to keep me posted on that.
Okay, I'll give you a countdown clock. You just put it right here.
I got a question for you. And
yes.
What it stems from is, did you hear about, you probably don't keep up with news in my state, but just about 20 minutes away, a lady was attacked on her bike by a mountain lion.
I actually saw that. I did see that.
I was just wondering, in your travels, because you're in remote places, you've been all over the world. Do you consider animals? Do you consider animal attacks?
Well, I'm getting ready. It's funny you say that. I'm getting ready to do the Cape Loop of the Baja Divide on my bicycle, which is essentially a 2-week off-grid, living in a tent bicycle ride, 250 miles. And I am extremely cognizant of animals, particularly at this time of year down here where it's getting hotter, of rattlesnakes. So I did a test ride today with my buddy Eric, and we saw 2 snakes on the road today. So they're starting to come out. So I am, for those of you that know me out there, I really am petrified of snakes. That's the one thing I don't like. But it's funny you say, mountain lions are down here as well. And I've seen a couple, weirdly enough, I've seen a couple in the middle of the day across the road. So I think that you definitely got to know about your surroundings. It's like, you and I have talked about this before, where like, look, if you're hiking in Montana or you're up in Wyoming or you're in Yellowstone or wherever, I mean, hell, there's like grizzly bears and mountain lions and shit. I mean, we hear about like people doing stupid things and getting charged by buffaloes and bison and crap, So, I mean, I think animals are definitely a concern, even if you take it from the other level. Look, I went to San Jose del Cabo, which is really, honestly, is only like 32 miles from where I'm camped on the East Cape here, but down a dirt road, though. So it takes about an hour and a half. And I mean, there's cows everywhere. And you go along on the motorcycle, as an example, and you got to be conscious of this, because the cows, you don't know what they're going to do. They stand there in the road and they don't move until you're 20 feet away. And then all of a sudden they decide to move. So animals are wild cards for sure, no matter what you're doing.
Well, I saw about the animal, the cougar attack here, and that's literally about 20 minutes away from me.
Right.
On
Right.
top,
Which is a populated area.
right. And where I live, I'm seated at the bottom of the mountains. And there's two mountains in our city. They're called Tiger Mountain and Cougar Mountain. So
Yeah.
the point I'm making is we have them in the area. We all know it. But being honest, I walk around here and I never think about it. Bears sometimes come right up to our right up and down our street.
Yeah.
I never think about bears. When I'm traveling, I'll just get out of my vehicle and take a picture. And maybe I'm using a long lens. I might walk maybe 200 yards away from my vehicle. I don't have my spray on me. I don't have anything. And I think I've told you before, one of my scariest things that ever happened to me was a bear crossed my path between my vehicle and me. And he went on ahead and went his way, but it could have been far worse. I was not prepared. And even with that story, I go out into the wilderness and I'm kind of very casual about the idea of animals. And I don't think I'm the only person.
Oh, no, you're definitely not. It's like, I think we all have the attitude that we're king of the animals, right? And, I something as stupid as I keep my shoes outside the truck all the time. Well, I mean, let's be honest. We have right where I am right here. We got tarantulas, we got scorpions, we got all sorts of stuff. And you're right. I don't think about it. Half the time I go outside, I'm walking around barefoot at, nighttime. You can't see anything. Who knows what's out there? So I do think it's a human condition, if you will, that we are maybe cocky is not the right word, but we're definitely probably not as careful as we ought to be.
I think when nothing happens, you're doing something and nothing happens and you keep doing it and nothing happens, you kind of get numb to the idea of being cautious and preventive and proactive.
Yeah. I do think it matters where you are. I will tell you, when I was up in northern Canada and, up on the Dempster Highway and going to Alaska Highway, even up through Alaska, I was more cognizant of bears in particular, and particularly making sure that, you're not leaving food out or things that are going to attract them. And as we know, to your point, unfortunately, I think people are kind of cocky in the sense that one of the problems that we're having is the reason that there's so many bears that are coming into, say, a bunch of spots where Overlanders says you can, boondock camp, is because people are not very good about this. So after a while, the bears are like, hey, a bunch of guys are coming in here like every night. There's a different, truck or van parked here, and they leave food for us. So next thing you know, it's grizzly bear hangout. Yeah, and that's bad.
Yeah, I happen to live in an area that has a lot of wildlife. They just passed a measure. They're going to reintroduce brown bears into Washington State.
Yeah.
Washington State, Idaho, Montana, and I think Oregon all have several packs of wolves that were introduced. They weren't natural. They were introduced. Yep. And we have a lot of wolves. It's not like if you frequent the woods, you will see a wolf.
Yeah. And obviously wolves are another one. Caution, remember, wolves are pack hunters, right? So they work in a group. And if they sense, or any animal for that matter, senses that there's some kind of weakness, or that they have a possibility or a capability of succeeding in their aggression or attack, fair game, right?
Right. I remember one day I was in a discussion about recognizing a wolf, and I had to tell somebody, you'll know a wolf when you see it. You won't. People think wolves are smaller than they are.
Wolves are big. Wolves are real big. I mean, right now, every night we have where I'm camped here in southern Baja, we have coyotes. And they're I mean, very prevalent. Like we have coyotes every night, and they come by, and I've seen them, outside my truck. I'm talking within 10, 15 feet of the truck. They're around just about every night. You hear them howling and making noises, and they usually are in packs of, I mean, it's somewhere between 10 and 20 of them. There's a lot of them. They're pretty small, admittedly. They're not super big. They're not like wolf size, but it freaks you out for sure. Just the sound alone.
And we're talking on land. You over in Baja. It ain't white sharks right there.
Oh, we've got sharks. We've got, hammerheads can be super aggressive in the water. We've got even what do you call it? Killer whales, sharks out there. So there's things that can, and like I said before, rattlesnakes are very prevalent around this area.
We have a bunch of killer whales in our area. We have different pods. They literally make the news. They'll be like pod A or pod 2 or whatever in the news. We're fortunate to have, there's some that only eat seafood, and there's some only that eat like whales and porpoises and stuff like that. We're fortunate to have the ones that eat the seafood.
Yeah, good. Yeah, but those things can be. I know the ones down here, boy, they come in. If they come in, they very rarely come into where I am, like in the Bay Area here. But if they do, I mean, they could turn their water red. They literally kill everything that moves. Like, I mean, everything. They go after the sea lions. They go after. I don't think there's anything they don't go after, honestly.
Now, they say there's never been a recorded attack by orcas, but most human contact has been with the ones, like I said, that eat fish. I'm not taking a chance with those orcas.
No, and I don't really. I mean, I would be worried about being mistaken as for a fish.
Right. Right. Researching my trip through South America, I realized, I looked up what the biggest predator was, and it was the jaguar. Have you seen a jaguar?
No, they're not native to the part of Mexico that I'm in. They, although we do have a black panther here that lives up on the mountain, like right behind my truck here. That also, by the way, is not native to the Baja Peninsula. I don't know if it's in southern Mexico or not. I do know it is in.
They're in southern Mexico for sure. Yeah,
probably southern Mexico, Central America for sure. Not native up here, but it was probably released by somebody that has a pet or who knows, a cartel guy or something. But obviously, it's really just a similar creature to a mountain lion, so it can survive here perfectly fine. So, but you're right. The jaguars, particularly in the jungle areas, Central America, even going into South America, would be a concern if you're in the woods, I suppose.
I hear that so many people are traveling through the Darien Gap now that the jaguar is like the most feared thing now.
Mm. Yeah, I think I mentioned on the podcast last week or the week before, that 1 million plus people went through the Darien Gap in 1 year. So it's it ain't what it used to be, I guess, the way you could say it. We got buddies, hey, Iron Horse Overland, that we talked about we're talking with on a couple podcasts ago. They I just saw today they are on their way to Honduras. They were in Belize, and then they went to Guatemala and El Salvador, and they're making their way through Central America right now. And I've got a bunch of friends overland. For those of you listening out there that know Overland Uncharted, they're over on mainland Mexico right now. Emergency Getaway, and a couple of my buddies with an ambulance. They're traveling through mainland Mexico. I probably got 30 friends now that are traveling the Pan American Highway that are in mainland. Most of them are in mainland Mexico right now, but many of them are on their way through Central America as well. So, you and I have talked about this quite a bit. I think everybody's plans open-ended at this point. I think a lot of them have felt like the Darien Gap is a no-go. I mean, obviously is a no-go to drive through, but is a no-go to ship over as well. So the going discussion about it seems to indicate that most people are finding that Texas to Columbia is the route. So that's just passing that information along. I have not focused on it too much because I'm just simply not quite there yet. But it's disappointing for people like me who had originally plotted out a route where I envision, of course, driving down through Mexico mainland and Central America, and then getting to Panama, and then get a little ship around the Darien Gap, and then keep going down the that is looking like, and you know what I'm going to try to do, Phil? Let's try to get, I don't know them personally, but there's a outfit out of Panama that is arranging shipping. So I think they'd be great. Let's get them on the podcast. I dialogue with them a little bit, but I'll send them a message and say, maybe let's get on the podcast, because they might be able to give us a whole nother story about how we can get to South America.
Mm-hmm. Well, I never hear that side of the story. I've talked to a million zillion people who are trying to do it. I haven't really talked, on camera with anybody that's on that side of the fence. That would be awesome. I think that's an excellent idea.
Yeah. Then we work on that. So things to look forward to out there in listener world. Oh
yeah. We had a special guest today that something happened with our scheduling. But with that said, I just want everybody to know we have like a laundry list of overlanders, travelers, explorers, adventurers that we have set up in the coming weeks that we're going to interview. Some I haven't even, because we do so much correspondence back and forth, I haven't even mentioned everybody I'm talking to. Yep. But I think we'll make a formal announcement on some of the people moving forward that are going to be on the show.
Yeah, no, looking forward to it. There's a lot of people out there. I'm happy to see so many people traveling, particularly right now, because as we all know, with conflicts going on around the world, and I suppose they're always going on. It's been going on for, the beginning of time. But there's some, I call it critical locations on world routes that are having problems. So, i.e., Ukraine is a big blocker for Transasia. Some of the stuff going on in Central and South America is a problematic. We just talked about the Darien Gap. Africa, you've got this, North Sudan, formerly Sudan, but like North Sudan, even South Sudan problems, Darfur region problems. So the East Coast to Africa is an issue. West Coast, it's problems over there too, particularly in the northwestern part of Africa. So like there's a lot of key locations that are issues for people that are on long-term travel plans. So you're seeing some changes. You're seeing people, possibly spending time in Australia or shipping to New Zealand or shipping to Iceland or spending more time in the United States. Or, I'm doing I'm working with a guy, which I can't give out details quite yet, but they're working on I'll just call it a movie for now. It's not production, more of a film production of Baja and the increased travel. Let's just say more people traveling down the peninsula, and how that affects land use and accessibility and, problems with just resources and everything else, which, by the way, is what you're seeing in the United States, particularly in the West with Moab and Oregon. I've seen it in various places. They want to close down trails or change the way access is, or even you and I talked about like national parks and making reservations and stuff like that. So, I mean, there's a lot going on, and there's probably a lot of reasons behind it. And I don't claim to know all of them, but, certainly, COVID and the pandemic changed travel. Starlink accessibility to the internet, change travel. There's a lot of stuff. I mean, I don't know if you can blame it on any one given thing. There's just a lot going on. The popularity of quote overlanding, the marketing behind it. We've talked about this before on podcasts. Overland Expo being a premier event of that, but in doing so, they've expanded this whole world and turned it into more of a commercial environment. So there's lots of stuff.
I remember in my younger years how much it was encouraged to travel, not just by like family members or something like that, but I mean by the culture. The American culture was kind of incentivizing you to travel. And we need to do a complete podcast about this, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
It seems like they are trying to take travel away in they're trying to get you out your vehicle. They're trying to get you not to travel. It seems like everything is to incentivize you not to travel. Like, for instance, it's not unusual now to go in a neighborhood and not just see a no parking sign, but no vehicle with this height or with tents, or they'll basically be saying nobody in an overland vehicle can park here overnight.
Yeah, no overnight parking, no parking here, no big trucks, there's a lot of that. And by the way, it's not just America. In Africa, use Africa, East Africa as an example. They've many of the country national parks have limited what kinds of vehicles you can drive. And I'll give you an example. My big truck here can't go into like Amboseli, can't go into Serengeti, can't go into Ngorongoro Crater. There's a bunch of places that I can't go because the truck doesn't meet the requirements for that park. So,
and you were mentioning how COVID helped a lot of people get into travel and everything. I've been keeping up with a lot of the stuff, like, for instance, real estate. You probably know this way better than me, but there are a lot of big real estate groups that would never normally consider partnering. They are considering partnering to become a super group, so that they can go to companies and literally pay the company to come rent from them.
Yep.
There are being subsidies talked about for companies that can get their employees to come back and work in buildings. Well, I would venture to say maybe 50% of the people out there on the road right now are working remote.
Yeah,
that's how
it might even be more than that. Yeah, I agree. There's a lot. There's definitely a lot. And the impetus is to try to get them out of their van, let's say, and back into the office building. Definitely.
Yeah, because it's been like a butterfly effect. They're not in the buildings. The real estate is just sitting there. So there's no tax base in major cities now, or it's not what it once was. So it's a lot of people that are incentivized to get you back in the office.
Yep. Yeah, I would agree with that. The commercial real estate market, U.S. World, or even worldwide, is not great. A lot of vacancy. The vacancy rates in downtown, particularly in office buildings, is higher than we've ever seen. It's difficult, and as you and I have talked about on other podcasts, U.S. is in a particularly precarious situation because our manufacturing has largely been pushed overseas. So now you've got all of that also is sitting around being idle. And it's one thing if you had all your office buildings vacant, but now if you're not making anything either, all of a sudden nobody's doing anything. So it's tough.
I swear, I was trying not to get political. I swear, Mike.
Welcome.
You brought up manufacturing, and it really pisses me off. Not just the basic idea that we don't really have a strong manufacturing base here, but everybody acts like it's almost the most impossible thing to restart. Our economy would grow from the simple fact of building back that infrastructure. It would be jobs to rebuild that. You get what I'm saying? There's no downside to rebuilding our manufacturing.
No, but a lot of that, we got to remember, like I got an email this morning from, I'm not going to mention the name of I'll call it a political action committee or whatever, but I got an email this morning, like, send your, money or sign off on this. We want to send this to President Biden to, encourage more green initiatives and, a bunch of mostly environmental controls. The problem is that environmental controls is kind of a code word, and and it was going on and on about like essentially we're destroying the planet, and it's only got finite resources for us, and eventually we're going to make it inhospitable and blah blah blah. But the problem is. And here's my, everybody come at me. You can just throw me under the bus because, nobody's going to agree with me. But let's be clear on this. And I think I may have said this before. Like, we are not destroying Earth. We are not destroying the planet. The planet is going to be fine. Earth is going to be fine. Okay. We may be destroying the Earth that's going to sustain us.
Yes.
So there's a big difference. And when they start giving me the, we are going to destroy Earth and it's going to be the end of the world. No, it is not going to be the end of the world. It might be the end of us. But the Earth could increase by 100 degrees and it's still going to be here. And by the way, at some point in history, the Earth was 100 degrees hotter than it is now. And people, we weren't working around that, but it was 280 degrees out. Earth was fine. So let's be clear when we talk about this is that we're talking about us, right? This is a selfish thing. It's all about us. There's a big difference there.
I'm in 110% agreement with you. I mean, this is a story that's been told over and over again with a different apex predator and a different supreme species.
Yeah. Where I'm going with this is that, the problem is that, you have to have some kind of moderation, right? So clearly, I don't know that there's any one of us that want to destroy the planet to a point where we can't survive. Like, I don't think anybody is looking for that, right? Like, so let's be clear. I don't think anybody's trying to do that. There's different means and different theories and, disagreement on what we're doing, but there has to be some kind of moderation. So, it's like, okay, if we switch all to electric cars as an example, okay, we're not drilling oil as much and we're not shipping pipelines out of Alaska and we're not, but we're making lithium strip mines and we're doing, and we have a waste problem with batteries. And so there's just, you get to pick your poison, right? Like pick your poison. So, I mean, I'm a huge fan of moderation. So I think you should be trying all of them. I think if we could invent a way that we could run all of everything on water, because we have unlimited supplies of water out here in the ocean, we would be better off. Clearly, if we could just suck in water, use it as power, shove it back into the ocean, keep going around in a circle, perfect. But we're not really there. Should we try? Sure. But while we're trying, particularly if you're talking about countries, and we're talking about the United States, like to be energy independent is the king, right? Like you're going to be at the top of your food chain. I saw an interesting thing I hate to say it, on TikTok the other day about like, America isn't the number one country any longer. Like, it's not the greatest country. This was a thing on TikTok I saw. It's not the greatest country in the world. And then the guy proceeds to explain to you that we're number 5 in this, number 12 in that, number 47 in this. And, you talk about all these things. And when it comes down to it, I think the only 3 things that we were tops in was, who knows, they were bad things, basically.
Debt.
Yeah, debt. Yeah, debt. And I don't know, whatever. But my point of the whole thing is like, yeah, because you have to focus on everything. So, you have to balance national parks with oil. Do you know we have more oil reserves in the United States than any other country on planet Earth, including Saudi Arabia and everywhere else? We actually have, we could sustain the world out of the United States. We're just not willing to do that.
I know, because wasn't it just a few weeks ago that they reneged on something where we were going to export oil and now we can't, which is crazy.
Right. And that goes back to the reason that we don't manufacture is because typically things cost a little bit more. Labor certainly higher, but like everything costs a little bit more. Well, that's because we're not manufacturing and producing the energy, because it usually starts with energy. You can't do anything without energy. Can't have a factory, can't build a car, can't do anything. So because we're energy reliant is where the problem starts, right? And that's a whole nother topic. Obviously, we're way off. I guess that's what we do. We go off tangent. But
well, I think energy is probably, whether they realize it or not, the biggest issue moving forward for travelers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I can't think of anything more.
Nope. Yeah, like Mike said from Iron Horse Overland in our interview last week, the thing that shocked them in their travels was how expensive it was to move around because of the fuel. And I'll take it a step beyond that is if you're buying eggs or chicken or anything else, whether you're in Mexico or you're in the United States, the cost is largely based on the energy that it takes to produce it, move it, store it, feed the chickens, whatever the thing is. But like, it's energy, it's behind everything. And without that, so I agree, that's the biggest thing. And energy is directly in a direct relationship with land and land use, because energy comes from land, right? And our fight is always over land use. Can I four-wheel there? Can I hike there? Can I drill oil there? Can I, it goes on and on. Can we strip mine and make lithium batteries? So all of this it's a combination of land and energy. And as travelers, those are two things that we're super interested in, right? Is land and energy. You're not going anywhere without energy, and you're not going to visit places without the land there.
Well, I don't think that any of these issues is hard to solve. It's just that it's all about money and its agendas. If the powers that be simply had one ideology, and that was simply, we're going to do what's best for all of us, the answers to almost every question is very easy.
Well, so here's the problem, though. What you just said is the problem. Because I think when you say we're going to all do what's best for us,
all of us.
Yeah, but that's where the disagreement comes in. So you're going to have some people say that what the best is for us is to drill no oil, use no oil, because it's going to kill the ground, or it's going to leak, or whatever the theories are on one side, and then there are a group of people that I don't want to say they want to send us back to the Stone Age.
They do.
It sounds like it, though. I don't think they do. I think they just don't understand the principle. Like, I have friends that are firm, ardent believers in, a bunch of stuff. And I'll ask, let's take what? Somebody says to me the other day, down here, walking along the beach, I'm not going to mention names. I'm not going to say what their political affiliation is or where they lean or whatever, but there's there's a whole mess of puffer fish. There's all sorts of puffer fish dead on the beach. There's all these things. Anyways, long story of it, there's a bunch of stuff dead on the beach. Same person tells me they love shrimp. Okay. And, and we had this big conversation about respecting, food sources and healthy eating and respect for the environment and whatever. Well, I got news for you. shrimping is one of the worst things for the environment or from the ocean perspective. And the reason that you have all these puffer fish up and down the beach here and all these things are going because the trawlers, they bottom drag for the shrimp, kills all these things. They die, they float to the beach. So when you look out there, so you take a bunch of people that are, anti, I don't know, whatever they are, they're anti, against their favorite food is shrimp. Yet it's like saying like your favorite thing in the entire world is as nuclear bombs, but you're against war. I don't know what to tell you. My roundabouts of the story is I don't think most people understand how shit works. That's the best way I can say it. They don't understand how shit works. Like, look, probably a lot of us would be vegetarians if we actually spent a lot of time in a factory of any kind, processing chicken or beef or pork or anything. We'd probably all be like, oh God, I can't eat that. But we do this. We put the blinders on and we move forward.
We have been,
but it's okay if you admit to that.
We are so detached in modern society from how things were and how things go. There was a time when it even was up till when I was a child. There was a time where a farmer didn't grow the same thing on his farm year after year after year.
That's right.
Either he replaced it with something else or he just let that land sit there for a year. Yep. There was a time where people who lived in a region near a forest or plains or whatever, where they'd go a season where they didn't hunt for something because they knew it was best.
We're not about that. No.
We need to have seasons off for like crabs, seasons off for like salmon and stuff like that. You have to go a year without having your salmon and bagels. You know what I mean? But nobody's willing to sacrifice. That's nothing.
No, it's a detachment though, because it's the same. It's the concept of just, if you know how things actually work, you'd have probably a different mindset. It's like we've talked about this before, the oil thing where, the pipeline. Okay. We had a fight for 10 years or more than that about the pipeline coming down from Canada through the United States down to Texas so they can refine the oil. Oh no, vetoed the pipeline. Right. So instead of putting it on a pipeline, now it goes by trains, it goes by trucks, which are running on diesel, which is running on the fuel that the oil was going to go through anyways. And we're trucking it all. So it's still getting there. I think there's people that fought the pipeline thinking that that's going to shut it down. It doesn't shut it down. They find another way of doing it, which is, by the way, worse.
And it's what you said. People aren't really educated on anything they discuss. There are a lot of people, and I understand the psychology, but there are a lot of people who the idea of that pipeline, they're like, oh, they're destroying the wilderness and blah, blah, blah. But they're not realizing how many trucks and trains crash and spill oil far exceeds maybe a crack in the pipe every 5 years.
Or you see the train going by, blowing black smoke into the thing because it's running on diesel. And that same pipeline that would have moved millions of gallons of oil, do you know how many tractor trailer trucks it takes to move that same amount and what that does for the price? Mm-hmm. And then, sure enough, like those same people that are like, well, how come eggs cost so much at the grocery store? That's why, it's a disconnected from reality. And it becomes frustrating for sure. And I'm not, look, and this is not a political statement because I don't care what side you're on or which way you lean. I mean, it's just facts. It's just facts.
It is. But tell me you haven't had a conversation with somebody that acts like they're not facts.
Exactly. Yep. It's like even you can talk, the hot button right now, right? You God forbid we even bring it up on the podcast. but you say the word global warming, right? And that is, to me, it just is my viewpoint. Does it seem like it's occurring? Yes. Is it caused by us? Probably, so, to some extent. Was it going to happen anyways? Don't know. What's it going to cause? Don't know. Is it going to continue that way? Don't really know. And then you've got people that are like, directly blaming, let's hypothetically say that, it's the United States. They didn't sign on to so-and-so accord, blah, blah, blah. The reality is, if you look around the world, most of the pollution and most of the really bad stuff is not coming from what amounts to actually a very environmentally controlled society in America, but there is no environmental controls in many developing countries. I remember driving through Africa, and in certain countries, you go into this, you can't even breathe. They're burning like trash. It's going up. You can't, the smog everywhere. Where do you think that ends up? We're on the same earth. It's the same world. Yeah.
And people will be like, well, this third world country has been in business doing this for years. How come they can't become a first world country? And you basically explained it. If you allow a third world country where you have all your major manufacturing to literally let their culture actually expand and grow and mature, one of the first things they're going to want to do is stop all the smoke and manufacturing going on in their country.
Mm-hmm. That's right. Yeah. So it's challenging. And I don't know. I don't know what the answers are, but it affects all of us. And to bring it back to the podcast and to travel and to land, this is a thing that's happening. Like, my viewpoint, like take Alaska as a good example of this. Alaska is the last frontier in the United States. It is amazing to go explore. And it's amazing as an overlander to go down some of the backcountry areas that, off grid up there and everything. Does that have to be balanced with, maybe there's a pipeline, which, by the way, there is a pipeline. There's the whole reason that we can actually get there and go see it is because of the pipeline. If the pipeline wasn't there, we couldn't even drive there. It wouldn't be a road. So, is it all bad? I got if I want to drive the Dalton Highway, I got to have fuel. That's the bottom line.
You've been there. You've seen the pipeline. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an ugly thing.
Sure.
But it's one pipe by itself.
One pipe.
And then you got the rest.
Dug in, like most of it, like if it ever leaked, it's in like a trough, and it's like, it's got like, there's controls. It's not like wild. It's not totally the Wild West. It's got shut off valves. And I don't know.
But you have the whole rest of Alaska. Mm-hmm. Why are you freaked out about this one pipe? It's not even that big.
No, it's not. Nope. Every single person that's van lifed or overlanded up the Dalton Highway has only been able to do that because that road was built for the pipeline.
No question.
No
question.
Just checking.
So that's just the bottom line. But
there's still so much of Alaska that you can't get to unless you're in a boat or a plane, and not just any plane. It's got to be a it can land
either on water or land on a friggin' little sandy strip in the middle of somewhere or whatever. Yeah. Yep.
So I appreciate it. And it's a reminder of history, why it was created, why they picked it to run down that particular part. Why isn't it closer to the coast? Why is it inland? It's all interesting history.
Yep. Agreed.
Mike,
all right. Well,
I know you got to go.
Podcast ever, because I actually have to go to dinner.
I want a full report and some pictures of the food.
We will do that because it's going to be good. It always is. It's Mexico. Food's always good.
Always a good time, Mike.
Let's We've got some schedule with some special guests coming up, and we'll get the schedule right, and we'll get it all out there to you guys.
So either next week will be a big person, or we will be announcing who all of these big people are that we're bragging about that you want to see.
That sounds like a good plan.
Anything else you want to say, Mike?
Nope. Get out there and adventure. Just do it. Don't get ready to get ready. Do it.
I love it. All right. You know what I'm going to say. Stay safe, tread lightly, and hopefully I'll see you here or on the trail soon.
You have been listening to Waypoint Overland's Random Waypoints. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more.